Seattle Progressive Asian American Christians is a fellowship of socially, politically, and theologically progressive Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Christians and Asian Pacific Islander Desi American diaspora Christians in the greater Seattle area. Through community-developed and community-led work, we are committed to creating and preserving cultural and social identities by fostering spaces that connect, inform, educate, and inspire the community and broader public.
SPAAC would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish, Coast Salish, Stillaguamish, and Suquamish people, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and these tribes.
Today's service will include a time of communion, so please pause this virtual space and take a moment to prepare your communion elements. Feel free to use your best judgment on suitable replacements.
We practice an open table, meaning you don't have to be a member of this church or any church to participate. You don't need to know exactly what you believe about communion or have your theology or spirituality all figured out. For communion is about unconditional grace and love, and we believe that God offers this invitation to everyone.
Last month, we began reaching out to folks in the SPAAC community to see how they've been doing in the midst of the pandemics. We're calling this series SPAAC Church Interviews.
We'll be hearing testimony from those who have borne witness to the joys and concerns of living through a pandemic, and we hope their experiences would reveal the ways in which God is still working against all tragedies and injustices through us.
Thank you for being here. What is your name and the pronouns that you use?
I'm Karen Chung. I use she, her pronouns.
Karen, how do you spend your time?
Well, I'm in my fourth year of medical school, fourth and last year. So right now, my time is filled with planning for and doing residency interviews, which overall is less time intensive than the rest of med school with studying and rotations and stuff. So these days, my time is a little freer than earlier in med school.
So our series is on wellness. Do you have one personal and one professional tip for wellness that you think might help us survive the gray, gloomy months?
I was thinking about this, and I feel like my personal and professional would overlap. And I was just thinking, like, having routines this is what's helpful for me. I function well with routines. And so, like, one thing that I started doing near the beginning of the pandemic, I don't do as much anymore, but at the beginning when we were all locked down and I was pulled out of rotations and just stuck at home, was I'd like to start my day with a commute. So I would get ready, have breakfast, do my usual thing, and then commute. I didn't have anywhere to go, but my commute would be like a 10-minute walk around the neighborhood to like get outside, make sure I was dressed and had my day ready. So and I could come back and be like, well, I have commuted to work and now I can get started on studying or whatever it is. And that was helpful to like orient myself and not get stuck in just, well, I'll roll lazily out of bed and start studying whenever I feel like it. Like, here's my time that I have to eat breakfast and I have to commute. Otherwise, I will be late to work. So I found that was helpful. And I think for folks who are still working and like not going outside as much anymore, I don't know if that's reasonable or helpful to even just step outside for a few minutes. I find like I operate well with routines and something to like structure myself.
If this lifestyle continues, there's going to be a whole generation of people that are going to be like, what's commuting, you old person?
Where do you have to go?
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I definitely have a similar, so I love driving, and sometimes I'll drive Jenny to work just for that sense of like commute. And then it definitely helps reorient my day, or walking my dogs in the morning to kind of be like, all right, this is the first commuting task before working.
Yeah, totally. Like people like Jenny have a place to go to where they have to go work. When I started rotations, I had a place where I had to go. So I didn't have to do this commute anymore. But now I'm off of rotations for a good chunk of time for residency interviews, which means I don't have anywhere that I physically need to be. I would just roll out of bed to the computer again. So maybe I'll pick this tip back up for myself.
With the backdrop of COVID cases expecting to rise and currently on the rise as we spend more time indoors, how are you preparing or anticipating for winter?
It's definitely happening, and I'm getting concerned with like watching the cases tick up, especially with cold and flu season as well. Personally, I don't know. I'm trying to like get back into the mindset of, okay, it's time to hunker down and not do so much as the summer. But on the other hand, I found that over the summer, one thing that was really helpful for me to like stay sane was being outdoors. So I hiked a ton this summer. I was trying to hike basically every single week, and that was glorious for my mental state and just getting physical activity. So this fall or recently, I got a pair of hiking poles for my birthday present, and I bought me and Kevin both a set of micro spikes for our hiking boots. You just like strap them on your shoes to help with traction in snow and ice. And so I'm hoping that like now we have better equipment and less of an excuse, we can still try to do some outdoor hiking activities. So that's like the opposite of spending time indoors, but I think there will be fewer people outside and it's helpful for my mental state. So I think that'll be good. And I look forward to exploring some snowy trails around here. Otherwise, I'm thinking ahead to like the trends of baking and just abundant like cooking and baking and stuff that people were doing at the start of the pandemic. And I think it might be time to do that again, especially with the cold season. It'll be like nice and homey and cozy to have the oven going. Kevin's mom earlier this year gave us this very large amount of yeast, which I haven't done anything with yet, but maybe some bread is on the horizon for us.
I just started making bao buns, like hambao. And
I
then, like,
saw your buns! Didn't you have a sourdough starter for a while? Are you still keeping that up?
I still have it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been since last February of 2019.
Wow. And you can just continue that like in perpetuity, right? As long as you take care of it. Is that the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, incredible.
I just have to feed it flour and water.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Every time you post one of your like sourdough pizza photos, I'm like, wow. The consistency. I am so impressed.
It's like about the routine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So at the beginning of my week, I keep it in mind that I have to like feed my sourdough starter, and then I also need to make either a loaf of bread or focaccia or pizza, you know, all the various bready things.
I love it. Wait, you feed it only once a week? I thought it was like a daily dealio.
No, I keep my starter in the fridge.
Oh.
So you have to feed it less.
Insider secrets. Amazing.
Our last question for you, Karen. Do you have any do as I say, not as I do type of practices?
I feel like we all have a lot of these where we're like, in my ideal life, I would be doing this. One thing that I'm trying to do, and occasionally am better than I currently am, is to not use not like start going on social media or any sort of like endless scrolling type of thing until after I've gotten up and had breakfast. And these days it's a little bit harder when, again, I don't have anywhere to be. But I find that if I start looking at my phone and like checking my notifications before I even get out of bed, then that's just opens the door to like nonstop. And then suddenly I've been in bed for an hour and a half longer than I had expected to. Because there's so many things to check. Like you start checking Instagram and then, oh no, there's something on Twitter also. I need to see this. So before I hope to like, before I settle into my inertia of being on my phone and in bed, like do the time sensitive thing, which is get out of bed and have breakfast, commute, I guess. And then if I want, then I can start going on my phone. So that's one thing. Otherwise, just the general routine stuff. It's the inertia of being at home is so real, I feel like, to just plop down on the couch or chair and get stuck doing whatever it is that I'm doing there and not addressing what's in the other room or on the to-do list. So routines, schedules, less social media.
I love that word that you chose, inertia. Typically, I mean, I feel that deeply, especially in the mornings where it's like my alarm goes off and I don't want to get out of bed, so I'll just, scroll on something, right? But I appreciate that word choice over what I've come to understand to be like habit, or like the habit of falling onto the couch and turning on the TV is like, oh no, there goes, like an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like the inertia is a more helpful illustration of like, I can actually do something about it by like pushing back and like that small little step I think it's really helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen.
Momentum. Physics.
Momentum.
I hate physics, but this term is helpful for me. An object in motion stays in motion, but an object at rest stays at rest. Thanks, Bill Nye. That's basically all I remember from physics.
Awesome. Anything else from either Aya or Karen? I really like those tips.
Me too.
What are you all, I want to know what you guys are eating to maintain your wellness.
I love vegetables. So right now it's a lot of like, I'll try to include kabocha, which is Japanese pumpkin, and like making simmered root vegetables like daikon. And yeah, just like hearty root vegetables. Been doing a lot of carrots. Yeah.
How do you cook them? Are you roasting them? Curries? How do you make them?
All of the above. Yeah. I probably make curry every week. Once a week, I do Japanese hambagu, which is like a meat patty with demi-glaze sauce and with rice, and then like a side of vegetables, either a salad or the root vegetables that I roast. I do a lot of like Japanese comfort foods, but use my air fryer a lot. So
ooh, fancy. What about you, Thomas?
Well, I watch my housemates cook for me. I do very little cooking. The only kind of cooking that I do comes out of the freezer. So we'll go back and forth. Honestly, it's like whatever we can get from Safeway or Trader Joe's. Just today for lunch, or yesterday, Jenny made like a curry using some eggplant we had left over from the garden. And then the day before that, I had a Hawaiian pizza.
Are you
controversial?
Yeah. Are you growing any winter crops in your garden?
No, not well. It's not intentional. It's kind of like whatever survives. There's just been a lot going on where we have not tended to our garden as we should.
I should have planted my kale. Forgot. Maybe it's not too late.
I don't know anything about plants and when it's too late for anything. it too late? I don't know.
This is why I stick to cleaning, where it's like very regimented.
Does not depend on the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been growing a mango seed, like
I
from.
enjoy those photos too.
So I've been posting on Twitter like the daily or like the weekly growth of this mango seed that I planted. But it's gotten so big. I'm
I didn't even know
surprised.
you could do that.
I'm on Pinterest a lot. It's like my safe scrolling because it's not like super doomsy.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah. And you don't
So
have
it's
to,
like my happy place.
Yay.
But that's where I found out the mango seed planting tip. It's just like dry your mango seed and then crack it open because it's in the shell.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can like sprout the root and then plant it.
Like in water and then put it in soil. Amazing. I tried to do that with an avocado pit earlier this year, or 2 of them. They both failed. Did not happen.
I've never tried it.
That's really hard.
Is it?
Yeah, we have so many holes in our backyard with avocado pits. It's real hard.
Huh. The internet makes it seem so easy.
I think it's the climate. They're very finicky.
Fine.
But we still try. We're just like, here you go.
Do like the Totoro thing when you're like,
Grow.
yeah. Yes. Taking care of plants is helpful for my wellness also. We've been raising more ever increasing numbers of plants. Not quite Jenny level plants, but 6 of them.
Do you want to show us your favorite so far and why?
Plants.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually not here right now, unfortunately.
Oh.
They're at our friend's place, who is being our plant uncle for when we're traveling, so that our plants can be taken care of. But my favorite is this big coffee plant that our friends gave us when we first got married and got our first apartment together. They gave us this plant. It was like this big, and now it's like. She's like 2 feet tall now. Her name is Margaret.
Wow. It's like a real love fern.
Yes.
Oh.
I enjoyed like hugging her and being like, Margaret, you're so good.
I like that.
Yes.
Taking care of yeast or starters and plants. There's definitely something life-giving about caring for something that's not ourselves.
Something or someone else depends on you.
So for your flight tomorrow, Karen, what are you doing to prepare?
I have a KN95 mask, which is not as good as an N95, but I don't have N95s. So I'm gonna wear that. I'm thinking about wearing a cloth mask on top of that. Also a cloth or another like disposable surgical mask on top of it. And I don't normally wear glasses, but I might wear my glasses.
Yes.
Just to be safe. And wiping everything. Hand sanitizer, everything.
Yeah. Are you not wearing gloves or anything? Just hand sanitizing?
I hadn't considered that. I do have gloves that I could bring. I just feel like it would be a hassle to like take them on and off in between, like touching the seat versus touching my own stuff. Like I don't want to touch my seat and then my own stuff. So then I'd have to take them off in between. And it's difficult to flip gloves in and out. Yeah.
I was researching like how to protect yourself on a flight because I potentially was shooting a wedding in March in Ohio. So they actually just moved it to 2022, so I don't have to worry about it now. But I was like reading about what people have been doing, like just like the K95 with like a disposable surgical mask on top was like the recommended one.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to get on a flight.
So it's all moot for you, but
Yes.
I might do that. Yeah. Overall, though, I feel less concerned with flights than if I were to like ride a train for a long time or something. Like it seems like flights, at least with Alaska. I'm flying Alaska, and I trust their protocols more than some other airlines. So we'll see. It's not a long flight either. I think it's like 2 hours, so I'll be fine. Hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. What is your name and the pronouns that you use?
My name is Jenny. I go by she, her pronouns.
And how do you spend your time?
Well, mostly I'm at my job. I work at Kaiser Permanente as a pharmacist, and currently my position is in the warehouse, and it's exactly what it sounds like. So I do a lot of like picking up items, scanning them, putting them back down. But basically the process is that I'm verifying that the medication that the doctor ordered is the right quantity and the right medication that the patient will be getting. So it's the last step before the patient gets their prescription sent out in the mail. And on an average day, me and my team, we fill about 15,000 prescriptions.
Whoa.
Sometimes it's like 18,000 prescriptions. But yeah, in an 8-hour shift, we do a lot of work. Besides that, I'm at home cooking, cleaning, taking care of the dogs.
And me.
And taking care of Thomas.
What is one personal and one professional tip for wellness that you think might help us survive the winter months?
And so COVID is crazy. This is a really, really abnormal time. And I think professionally, there's two things of the same coin, really. First is that there's a lot of people I've been noticing starting antidepressants for the first time. And there's a very weird, like, just negative energy around people taking antidepressants, but it's actually very common, and it's proven to work. So I think that the first thing I would say professionally is like, don't be afraid to seek out help, especially when it comes to medication. And you're not alone, right? In the whole process of taking medications to help your mood, especially if you're dealing with anxiety, depression of, the whole gambit of depression, whether it's just low grade depression or you're feeling like having suicidal ideation. That's all very real, and medication can absolutely play a critical and very important part. That's not to say that you have to take medication if you are experiencing depression, but there shouldn't be this negative connotation around taking antidepressant. And it's possible, absolutely, to take it for a period of time and then come off of it later. So definitely something that I would encourage people, especially if you're experiencing depression, to talk to your doctor about. And if you ever have questions about medications, I am absolutely free to talk about that as well. On the other side of the coin, I would say that it's not the right time to experiment and try stop taking the medications that you're supposed to be taking every day. Now that people have a lot more time to think about things, they think maybe I can stop taking this medication. I think right now, because of all the things that are happening in our lives, that's not the best time to come off of your daily medications. But again, something that you should absolutely talk to your doctor about. Personally, I think that for me, the best medicine that's not medication is connecting with people. there's like a real spirit that lives through in us and that we can like share with other people, right? So personally, I think that would be the first thing. And then the second thing, I talk to Thomas about this all the time, is not to fall into the cycle of feeling guilty because something that you did or didn't do, and then, you know, falling into the cycle of, oh, I was supposed to do that. Oh, I screwed it up. Oh, I was supposed to do that. Oh, I screwed it up. And it's hard to fight that mentality, but give yourself a lot of grace during this time because we all need it. I know that I need it. So I was just telling Thomas earlier today actually that I feel like I fell into a cycle of getting upset with myself about my health and lack of exercise.
And then you got more upset because you yourself knew better, but you were still kind of falling into that same rhythm. And by verbally even stating that, you brought yourself out of it, at least like a little bit.
A little bit. That was helpful.
As we start to spend more time indoors, are you preparing yourself this winter in any way or anticipating?
Yeah, it's going to be a rough winter. I mean, Seattle, even without COVID, is rough. like you were saying before we started this, like around this time is when you take a vacation because we all want to get the heck out of here. Like dreary and cold is fun for like a week, but like for 6 months, it's like, dear God. Yeah, so Thomas and I usually take a vacation in January, but since that's not happening, I am anticipating snacking a lot on chips, hot Cheetos.
Yeah.
Jenny came home with 4 bags of hot Cheetos. It was literally falling out of our grocery bags as we were taking them out of the car.
And I'm lactose intolerant, so you know, I'm just giving myself a lot of grace here.
I did something similarly. I brought home 3 bags of chips today. I got the dill pickle chips and barbecue chips and the Ruffle sour cream and onion chips.
There you go. See, a lot of snacking. It's good for the soul. Maybe playing some games on the Switch. Anything to pass the time. I think that one thing that is different is that I'm planning on being somewhat politically active with the Georgia Senate races. There's something about being just participating in, what am I trying to say? Democracy. I feel like that's such a lofty word, but just participating in volunteering, getting people out there to vote is going to be encouraging. Celebrating the Democratic win, hopefully watching Trump get dragged out of the White House, kicking and screaming. That'll be really fun. Twitter canceling Trump is what I'm looking forward to.
Do you have any do as I say, not as I do types of practices?
Like all of the things I just said. The biggest one is probably exercise. Like, I know I should be exercising. Like, we grew up in Illinois where gym was a requirement of every day from kindergarten to high school. So every day we were in a gym class. And so like I've learned the benefits and I've learned the techniques and I've been taught over and over again what it means to be quote unquote healthy, right? Whatever that means to you. And I fall in and out of exercising, And I know it's such a good way of building up like good, happy endorphins and feeling productive and proud of yourself. But man, I just can't do it these days. So we'll see how that goes this winter. We'll see.
Do you have any go-to easy recommendations for your last do as I say, not as I do exercise tip?
Oh my gosh. What do you think about getting a Peloton bike? I'm just kidding.
Well, now you have to explain the context to that very expensive decision.
No, it's too much money. But my Shiro Beyonce decided to partner with them. So waiting for these videos to drop so that I don't have to pay for the bike and I can just watch Beyonce on a bike. Casual.
Jenny sent me a screenshot that on day one of Beyonce's like partnership, they had 103,000 people at 9:30
In one class.
in one class.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Everyone's just trying to watch Beyonce on a bike.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
I have like a stationary exercise bike, and I do recommend it. It's really nice to just have your switch out, be playing, but you can like be cycling as to like fast or as slow as you would like.
So you
It's kind of
switch
like
and
mindless
cycle?
exercise.
That sounds a lot better than watching like doing like a 10-minute ab workout because I try to do that thing and I'm just unmotivated. Like they're like, do this exercise for 60 seconds. I'm like 20 seconds in, like,
No.
no, next exercise.
Yeah. I used to do those high intensity workouts like 6 days a week, but like
6
for
days a
20,
week?
yeah, for 20 minutes. But that was probably like what, 2 years ago now. And I like look back on it and wonder like, how did I have motivation to do that every day?
Outrageous how many cycles that we go through. And you'll probably go through another cycle like that.
Mm.
But it's okay for that time to not be now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I keep telling myself through all of this.
Just got to ease back into it. I don't know how you are. I have to ease back into it. I can't just like go headstrong because then I'm like too sore to walk.
Oh, that's so good. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I secretly love that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the feeling reminds you that you did something good, but then you can't sore for like 10 days. Well, I stay sore forever. And Tom's just like, why are you walking funny?
What was your like mentality going into pharmacy school? Like, were you aware of like, I don't know, what was your mindset on mental health, I guess, going into it and like knowing that with Asian kids, like parents aren't very open to medication for mental health?
So I decided to go to pharmacy school when I was 18 because I chose a 6-year program, which is basically 2 years of undergrad and then 4 years of the doctorate of pharmacy. So I was not aware of anything. So when I was like 22 and I walked into a pharmacy for the first time, I was like, oh, this is a lot like my parents' cleaners. You know, somebody places an order and then we take care of the order and then we give the order back. You know, like what else is there to this pharmacy thing? But I think that a lot of what I've learned is on the job experience. And because at Kaiser we have access to doctor's notes. So every prescription that comes in, we can see like doctor is starting with the small dose for 7 days and then increasing to a higher dose to get them like on a regular dose of the medication. But then you'll like open the chart and like glimpse over the notes just to make sure that this is the medication the doctor was writing for. But it's like, okay, you have to like low-grade depression, so you're starting this. Try this for 3 weeks, and then we can try a different one if you're experiencing too many side effects. And just like reading lots and lots of that, I've learned to kind of appreciate doctors' conversations with the patients, and yeah, just it is super, super common, super common next to thyroid medications and blood pressure medications and cholesterol medications, and the list goes on, but I'm gonna stop there. Yeah, I think my parents have also come around to the fact that medications can be helpful, especially now that they're older and they're on medications, right? And doctors are explaining to them that they need it, otherwise, consequences.
Did you grow up going to the doctors?
No, I grew up going to the chiropractor like a good Asian.
Thomas, did you grow up going to the doctor?
Just for your annual, like your school requirement. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I would get sick and my parents would be like, drink some tea.
Yeah.
You're still going to school.
Oh yeah, I would sprain my ankle and my mom would take me to the chiropractor. I would be like, oh.
Then, what is your name and your pronouns?
Hi, so my name is Tim, and I use they, them pronouns.
Thanks, Tim. How do you spend your time?
Okay, so right now I am a student at the School of Dentistry at UW. So most of my time nowadays is school related, whether it be online Zoom lecture or going into the lab at school to practice my hand skills and yeah, just lab sessions in general. When I am not doing anything school related, I mostly just I don't know, browse on my computer, look at the news, and read for fun and cook whenever I have the chance to do that. So yeah, that's been my life during shutdown for the past like 6 months or so.
Sounds pretty routine. Routine is good.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that.
what is one personal and one professional tip for wellness that you think might help us survive some of these gloomier months?
Okay, so for me, I guess a personal thing is I know for myself, I love to go outside. I love to go outside and walk or run or jog or whatever. So I think a personal tip is if exercising is something that really energizes you, get a yoga mat, get some dumbbells. I think just set aside some space so that you can work out and do activities that will make up for lack of time to be able to go outside because it's going to be darker, rainier, foggier, so going outside is not going to be always be so ideal. So that's one personal thing I would advise for people who like me who like to go outside and exercise. Another thing that comes to mind, I guess, for professional advice, um, I think just check in with yourself regularly because yourself, whatever you're at, is going to affect how you are in school and work. And I think if you need to see a therapist, whether it be on the phone or over Zoom or something, then strongly consider it because I think being so isolated, there will be times when you feel like you have so much on your mind and you have so much you need to share. And if you don't get it out, it's going to affect your performance in other ways in life. So I think just make sure you have that space to be able to be open about where you are at and be able to honestly check in with yourself at.
With the backdrop of COVID cases expecting to rise, as we start to spend more time indoors, how are you preparing or anticipating for the winter?
Yeah, I think going back to the previous question, one is having all my exercise equipment and some space set aside ready to go. And I think another thing is just getting a pile of books ready to read whenever I have spare time when I can't go out and see friends or whatnot. And also having point people to contact and to just reach out with just so I don't feel as lonely being inside at home. And also, I think just getting some vitamin D pills ready because I know that the winter does mentally affect me. So that's one practical thing too.
Tim, do you have any do as I say, not as I do type of tips or recommendations?
Oh, that's
And
that's a funny question because the first thing that comes to mind is get off your phone, get off your screens. Um,
yeah,
I think it's kind of the social media, the internet, the digital world is very much a double-edged sword. And it's great to stay connected with people when we're also isolated and quarantined, but there are definitely times when I know for me, like when you go through social media, you do realize that there are people who are not taking COVID as seriously as you are, or not as strict about adhering to social distance guidelines as you personally are. And I think it can feel a little isolating and lonely sometimes because that's just how social media works. So just be mindful of what you're allowing yourself to consume every day, whether it be like, I don't know, friends going out or depressing news, just being mindful about what you are going to be looking at. And second of all, I think for me, I think looking at a screen, like an artificial, like digital screen for a long time can give me headaches. And I think with working at home with online lectures and stuff like that, you are staring at the computer a lot. So I think it's always important to just divest from screen time in whatever way, shape, or manner that best suits where you're at. COVID, I think another thing I want to add with that is, we're going to be seeing an uptake in cases and it's winter coming. And I think for me, it's harder too with this question because I do have to go into lab quite a bit every week to practice. So I think that makes avoiding people a lot harder. And there have been and I think for me, I definitely have a lot of anxiety when it comes to seeing people during the pandemic because it's not just like, oh, I will get sick. I don't want to get other people sick as well. So I think that's like the big thing that comes to mind for me. So yeah, I think a big thing is for that is I think I have to accept the reality that I will be going into school quite a bit, but also I'm just anticipating to be more mindful with where I am at. And that, like, am I healthy? Do I have unusual headaches? Do I have a new cough or something? And I think it's important that if your role in life requires you to go into a space, and I know this is true for a lot of restaurant workers or healthcare workers, I think it's just to continue to be check in with your health and to check in with your health just so you are healthy and the people around you can stay healthy. And I expect to get COVID tested more if that's still as available as it is right now in these coming months. So that's something else I would like to add.
And at dental school, are they like giving the students any kind of protocol of what they're doing like in real time, like in dental offices?
Okay. Oh yeah. So with the school right now, our protocol is that basically our class and the class below us, we're divided into two groups, and it will be like our one group has scheduled class for this week, and the next group has scheduled class for the next week, and it kind of switches off every other week. And we have designated practice times for each of these two groups in our class, just so the lab that we use is not over half capacity and that we are still below the half point, just so that we are able to social distance well. So that's like a really huge thing. And then also within the school, there are like protocols like only two people can go on an elevator at once. And just so some spacing rules like that is a big thing. And then for dental offices, from like between March and May, offices had to be closed because the state was trying to figure out like, okay, how can we safely provide dental care while reducing the risk of COVID exposure? But right now, dental offices are open, and many of them are actually a lot busier just to make up for the lost months between March and May. And it's kind of a similar rule that if you come in, they have to provide you hand sanitizer at the front to make sure everyone's coming in with clean hands and whatnot. And there has to be adequate space between like the different dental chairs that the patients are seated on. And So it's very similar, like protocol rules, like with other spaces where people go in person, like restaurants or stores or hospital settings, that there has to be adequate spacing and they have to get your hand sanitizer up front. So that's kind of how they're running dental offices right now.
And have you gone into the doctor's office or a dental office since COVID started?
Oh yeah, I saw my dentist like shortly after they reopened in the end of May, and yeah, I could tell that they were definitely trying to be more mindful of the fact that COVID is still a reality and trying to be mindful of that. So hand sanitizer at front. We had to have like a seat or two between patients. And I remember my dentist told me that they were pretty busy trying to catch up with everyone. They were supposed to be scheduled within March and May, but they couldn't see. And I've been to the doctor a few times just for like personal things the last few months or so, and it's very similar where at least a lot of my appointments regarding like medications, we're trying to do over Zoom if possible or online, just because we can just talk about it versus having to go in and get something measured or something, or get something tested. Yeah, so it's been interesting, I think, just going in and seeing like these offices much emptier or much more spread out than what I am used to. So yeah, that's my experience.
Tim, thank you for taking the time to speak with us and sharing with the rest of SPAAC some tips about how we might survive this upcoming winter.
Yep, gotta get ready.
Gotta get ready.
Reminds me of that one meme. It was like brace yourselves, like winter is coming, and it has like that guy with like a sword or something. It's like an older meme.
Yeah, I like the memes of like the Spider-Mans pointing at each other, and it's like captioned with like COVID, a seasonal affective disorder, like the election. It's just like every single thing you can layer on top of the seasons changing.
Yeah.
On the night on which he gave himself up for us, Jesus took bread, gave thanks to you, broke the bread, and he gave it to his disciples, and he said, "Take, eat. This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." When the supper was over, Jesus took the cup, gave thanks to you, gave it to his disciples, and he said, "Drink from this, all of you. This is my cup of the new covenant, poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this as often as you drink of it in remembrance of me."
Even though we are a community in diaspora, we are still a community that stands in solidarity with one another. For this reason, we invite you to extend your hands toward your screens and bless our holy elements together.
Pour out your Holy Spirit on us gathered here, on these gifts of cup and bread. Let them be for us the life and salvation of Christ, so that we may be for the world the body of Christ, made whole by his witness, passion, and life. In the season of social distancing, may you remind us that we are never spiritually distant from you. Let us pray the Lord's Prayer together, and feel free to recite whichever version is closest to your heart in your first language. Ama namin, sumasalangit ka, sambahin ang ngalan mo, mapasa amin ang kaharian mo, sundin ang loob mo dito sa lupa para nang sa langit. Bigyan mo kami na ngayon na aming kakanin sa araw-araw, at patawarin mo kami sa aming mga sala, para ng pagpapatawad namin sa mga nagkakasala sa amin, at huwag mo kaming ipahintulot sa tuko, at idya mo kami sa lahat ang masama. Amen.
Amen. The body of Christ, broken for us, and the cup of liberation offered to each and every one of us. Come and eat. The table is ready.
Thank you all for joining us. Reach out to us if you have any questions, concerns, or comments that you'd like to share.
May the love and support of this community bring you courage and rest. Go in peace.